Hey guys and gals, Fishing Chronicles back to you. Do you remember when we were working on these divider bins and I said that we're going to do it 2, 3, 4 times? Well, we're on number 4. So what we decided after I laid it all out, I'm about an inch too big for whatever the reason. My carpet's thicker. I have no idea. But what we're going to do, we're going to work from the left side of the boat, the port side of the boat, to the right side starboard of the boat. And then what I'm going to end up having to do is this filler plate that squares everything up on the starboard side of the boat. I'm going to have to uncarp it, put it on a table saw, and rip probably about an inch off of the board. Go see, huh? Anyway, we'll be back. Hey, good morning, Fishing Chronicles. We are back working on these damn doors and storage compartment again. I have reinstalled them, took them all apart at least 3 or 4 times. Also with the gas shocks to hold the doors up, we had some malfunctions with those as well. Anyway, this is not an easy task. So as we were talking about, well, it might be an easy task for somebody that knows what they're doing, but I'm an electrical contractor, not a carpenter, not a carpet installer, not a boat rehabber or anything else. I'm just a regular person thinking he knows enough to do the job, but clearly there's a lot of elements in this boat build that I had no idea what I was really getting into. However, it's been a journey to say the least. As you can see over here in this corner, this piece of wood, which was already carpeted, I had to take it all back off and it got stuck. It's a sticky board now, and now this board has to get ripped. And I'm going to be taking about 2 inches or more off of this board because there's a filler space that has to go here. This piece of cardboard is going to be my template because there's no way for me to get this exactly where it needs to be and to get a good line, because we got one chance at cutting this board. If I screw it up, got to go to the hardware store or Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, and get another board. Don't really want to do that, but chances are I'm going to cut it wrong and we're going to probably have to, but maybe today we'll get lucky. But anyway, like I say, this opening here is much smaller than it used to be. And the whole point behind everything that I'm talking about is if I would have taken more time, examined what was what, took better pictures, better video, stored it properly where I could find it at a later date, so many things, because I had no idea this boat would still be in my garage almost 14 months later. And anyway, I know you guys are getting sick and tired of hearing this, and so am I, but I'm just telling you, if, from my experience, unless you are very committed to, from start to finish, staying on top of this boat. If you leave it for a month or two, you're gonna forget a lot of stuff unless you have it written down. And you wouldn't think that you have to pay that close attention to put something like this back, but you do, because the problem is each edge, because the carpet that I purchased was an upgrade to what went on the boat originally. What was on the boat originally was a much thinner, less expensive carpet. I wanted a nicer carpet, but when I went to that, I'm adding thickness. And if you're thinking about you're adding thickness on 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5 pieces. So in 5 pieces, if you add 1/4 of an inch, right, that's going to be 1 1/4 inches. And then you times that by 2, that's 2.5 inches. And that's about what I have to cut off of this board. Anyway, we'll be back momentarily. Hopefully I don't cut any digits off, and we'll see if we can get this in. Here it is, fellas and gals. Actually did it okay. Made that template out of the cardboard, cut it leaving the line on, so if it was too big, too small, I had a little more material to work with. But this has a pretty good fit. I'm still gonna have that maybe 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch on each side. This door is a little out of level, and I think what I'm gonna do is probably redo one of the screws up here to get it closer to here, because there's a pretty big gap at this end versus up here. Try to straighten that out a little bit, not really sure, but we are gonna go to the carpeting drawing board and I think get this thing carpeted next. Well, we actually got the entire platform installed. Now what we need to do is put the screws down into the deck so that it'll be, you know, fastened properly. So there's one runner I-beam here, one I-beam there. I'm going to use that blue square to lay across here to keep me a straight line going down. I'm going to pre-drill, get all that screwed in, and we'll be one step closer to getting this main platform taken care of. What we ended up having to do is, if you remember, we cut this about 2 inches off so it would fit, and then we had to put the side support here as well for that. Tomorrow we're going to actually fasten the cockpit back down, so that will be in place. And after I get that done, we're actually going to, I believe, get started on the wiring. So that should be pretty exciting. We'll see how that pans out. We'll touch back base tomorrow. Fishing Chronicles. Hey, we got the throttle assembly and that whole section right there. We were able to get that removed. Take you into Garage 2, where we actually redid the carpeting on that. So that's going to take a little bit to set up. This is the old piece of carpet removed from the throttle. Now what we found is I was trying to figure out how to be able to remove the throttle assembly, and I looked on Google and they didn't have a lot. So I just I had previously taken it apart and looked at it, and this basically is the assembly for what you see behind the wall. And then this assembly here bolts on to the plate that's here. And the big magical question was, how do you get it off? Well, they were talking about this bolt right here that threads onto here, and then this little plastic slip piece goes in to all of this. And this little guy, this is a trick to get this to pull out without breaking it. And what this does, this will allow you to disengage the drive for forward and reverse, so you could just rev your engine. So the trick is getting this bolt out, and the socket for that is a 17 millimeter deep socket is what you need. 17 millimeter deep socket. And make sure that you're all the way on top of that brass nut, because if not, it will slip off, because there's a lot of there's not a whole lot of clearance inside when you're going to take this part apart. The connection piece for the on-off for the safety that you attach to your safety vest. So if the off run, that did not have a quick disconnect, so I had to cut that, and I'm going to have to rejoin it. But the trim wiring had a quick disconnect, so I was able to disassemble that. Also take note at what position you had your throttle when you took it off, so when you put it back, it's going to be in the same position. I believe this little nodule that's sticking out also helps in that identification purpose after you take it apart. But what I did do is I did take quite a few photos and measurements when I did take this apart, just to make sure. I'm going to get the assembly back together tomorrow, so it shouldn't be a really big deal. So hopefully everything is going to go back together, and we will have this portion of the cockpit done. Then I want to get the seats in next. We also were able to install the gas shock for the last door. Had to install a 2x4 for the supporting member for that to go in to be able to support the gas shock, but this works like a charm. Got the last lock portion in, and that's doing good. We have the live foot controller that has to be assembled on the front deck, as well as the heading sensor for the 360 is going to be mounted. But you can see that the front cockpit, lighting control switches, the voltage, identifying the actual voltage that's available at your batteries. The one on the left is a 24 volt, the one on the right is for the 12 volt system. So that's all there. And in the far left, you can see the heavy duty Ultrex plug is over there. And as I'm looking at it, it looks like that is going to be a problem where the Ultrex comes down. I got to check that now. Hopefully we don't have to move that, but you know how Fishing Chronicles is. You put things in, you take things out. Let's go take a look real quick now that I'm thinking about it. That is not looking good, folks. Oh my, that's a big problem. Big problem. Big frickin' problem. What a pain in the ass. needs to be over here or over there more. But, well, I was panicking for no good reason. Bottom line is, got a 90-degree connector, which is gonna fit perfectly down there. Thank God for 90-degree connectors. Thought I had a big mess on my hand once again. So as you can see, that's the 90-degree connector. They must have been anticipating when they made the 90 for where you would actually put the power supply that you might bang into it. So that worked out good. At least we're not doing that a second or third time. I don't mean to be such a Debbie Downer, but you know, the bottom line is I'm tired of doing things 2 and 3 times. And you know, the reason all this is happening the way it is just because I just don't have the knowledge of the game plan. But you know, we're struggling through it. When we get this thing finished, it's going to be a work of art, and hopefully it'll look good. Bottom line is we're coming down to the home stretch. I got 3 weeks to get this thing finished, but I think it's looking pretty good, guys. Pretty good, guys and gals. I always say guys, but you know, there's a lot of gals that are fishing too, so please forgive me for that. But I think it looks pretty good, all in all. Got a lot of equipment on that one setup here. I'm wondering how heavy it's going to be dropping it into the water. And I'm hoping I don't have to do that heavy-duty spring upgrade that Minn Kota told me about a couple months ago.